Welcome back to the Point of Difference podcast. I'm your host, Angus Henson.
And I'm co-host, Shaq Shora.
Today we're really excited to welcome onto the show Dr. Fleur McIntyre.
Yeah, listening to Fleur talk about her coaching experiences and also playing experiences will be very insightful, most recently being the assistant GM of the Phoenix Mercury.
So up next, Fleur McIntyre. Welcome, Dr. Fleur McIntyre.
This is a solid start.
Yeah,
I think in general.
How are you today? How are you doing? Welcome back to Sydney.
Thank you. It's so nice to be back. I'm doing really well. Thanks for inviting me onto the podcast.
Absolutely.
I'm super pleased to be. It's always weird when you sit with two people that you know and care about really well, but it's also really fun. So nice to be back in Sydney. The weather's nice. Good to watch some basketball and get to catch up with people. It's been really good.
Yeah, it's been a hot summer. I'm sure not as hot as Phoenix.
Don't even.
Yeah.
It is revolting in the summer.
Yeah.
It is between 40 to 45 degrees Celsius every day for 3.5 months straight.
And what is it right now if it's winter?
It's beautiful. Everyone flocks to Arizona in the winter. It's about like 20 degrees. So it's cold in the mornings, but just like sunshine. So it's perfect.
Yeah, this may be a dumb Australian question.
Nope, do it.
Everyone in Australia lives coastal. What do you do in an inland town when it's 45 degrees?
The weirdest thing when I got off the plane and I was thinking to myself, it was just red dirt and mountains, and I'm like, there is no water anywhere. And I'm from Perth, obviously lived in Sydney for like 3.5 years, and I'm used to being surrounded by water, on water. Yeah, there's not a lot. There's this kind of canal that runs. I wouldn't even call it a canal. It's embarrassing to call it a canal. It really is. Yeah. And no one's swimming in that ever. Like, you are catching some sort of disease if you swim in the Phoenix Canal. Not a lot. The city is dead during the summer. Everything is inside. Yeah. Every apartment building has pools. Like outside is all the misters, everything like that. But it is a ghost town out on the streets because you just cannot go outside. So it's limited. It's actually fun to go on road trips because you escape the city and go to better weather majority of the time. Yeah,
well, I know the facilities are quite good there, so being inside is okay. And I know that you've had a different experience in Sydney, but we love Auburn.
We do.
How's it been seeing everyone back? I think it's important to say on the record that when you came to practice the other day, you saw Kix and I in early working hard on the side of the road. I want everyone to know that.
I yelled at them from the car window as if you two were working as I was sitting on a park bench propping their laptops up. It was awesome. And even just seeing you guys because we couldn't get into Kudos and having a chat with you for 30 minutes and then I was saying to you, and Gus, you and I talked about it. It's so nice. I've realised that obviously at the time it's hard to win a championship. It's really hard to win 2 in a row. But I think, I was talking to Zave about this last night. Everyone, we had such a unique group in that moment in time. I kind of refer to it as like a unicorn moment. And I think coming out of it now and looking back, I don't know if I'm ever going to get that again. I'm going to try, but I don't know if we're ever going to get that again because it's so special and unique when it comes together. And so coming back and seeing everyone, it fills my heart with joy. I get emotional all the time, talking about you guys and what it means to me, but even more so, walking into practice. And Gorge even said to me, he goes, I've never seen so many grown men hand out hugs. When you walked in, I said, I demand it.
Yeah, you're a hugger.
Tui hates affection. I'm like, we're hugging. This is happening. So it's awesome. It was so nice. And just to sit with you and Kix is going through film and we're laughing. I was like, nothing changes. But, I miss it. But it's so nice to be back and seeing everyone.
Interesting. Is there anything that you feel like has changed looking at it from the outside now, coming in?
It always seems a little bit different when you change coaching staff and there's turnover of players. And I think things always change from year to year. But essentially the guys that I know and everything that I remember is the same. People have the same personalities and, I was laughing with Zave and Brucey about some stuff. Them so well. Their habits. Zave walked into training, whatever, carrying his up and going banana. I said, typical, hasn't eaten breakfast. Just those sort of things that you have. So whilst it has changed from the outside looking in, it stays the same with the people that at their very core.
Definitely. Okay, so we'll go back just a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about the show's about point of difference and sort of what makes you you and what your values are. And we sort of have, Fleur the GM
Yep.
and Fleur the coach.
Yep.
But we're going to start with Fleur the player.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Fleur the player
Okay.
because you are relatively coy and humble about how good you were as a player.
Oh.
Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
exactly.
And I remember asking you when I was there that year and getting to know a bit about it. Yeah, no one hears about it. That's what we're here
Because
for.
I'm working with pro male athletes
well,
and
that's
worked
fair.
with 2 former coaches that represent Australia. So
That's fair.
tends to humble you very, very quickly.
Yes, that is very fair. I'm the same. I don't talk about me as a player very much. But when you were a player,
Yeah.
what type of person were you as a player?
Yeah. I have always been the leader and the captain of most teams I've been part of, whether it was NBL 1, playing in like WA Metro State teams. And I look back as well, like I think I was just always the leader because I've always had energy and I can speak to people and I'm happy to like grab everyone in and pull everyone together. I don't know if I had any really particular great leadership qualities apart from them. So I was certainly always the leader. I didn't have any qualms being direct, but I was always really positive and encouraging to my teammates. And I was super competitive, really, really competitive. Loved the physicality, prided myself on my toughness. So those were sort of the things that I think made me who I was. And I think the other thing was I'm the least athletic person in the world. So I have to rely on my IQ to beat people. Like that's how I'm getting by people and how I'm beating people and impacting the game. So I was very much relying on my IQ, which I think then helped me on and off the court as I went into coaching, So that's how I'd probably describe myself. I'm never out jumping or outrunning people. Yeah. Try being old and coming into a pro men's team and you're just like, this is horrific that I have to get on court with these guys.
And so talk to us more about the transition, like towards the back end of playing into coaching, I guess, those values, how they carried over, what was the decision to kind of grow into the coaching pathway?
So really interestingly, I always coached when I played. Like when I was playing NBL 1, and I think again because I was always a leader of teams, people always saw me as someone that could coach. And you know what it's like at rep, like they're desperate for coaches. And I was always, again, as I think a teammate, and when I played, I'm a big fan of like if you've got the capacity to give back and pay it forward, I believe you should. Like that is something that I truly believe in, and I had that capacity. So I was coaching I've coached every rep age group in WA, probably boys and girls, like everyone from like 14s through to 20s. Like I have and then kind of senior levels. So I started off just coaching in that, and then was involved in state teams. They called me up and said, would you be assistant coach? And I was like, sure, no worries, I'll go and help out. So again, I think I've been to, between myself as a player and then coaching, I think I've been to like 15 nationals. Wow. So a lot. Yeah. Like I have been to a lot. And that's probably the stuff that people don't know about me. Do you know what I mean? Like I think I popped up at the Kings and everyone's like, who the hell is this chick? Like exactly. Where's she come out of? So, but I think people forget, like I volunteered in WA coaching for the best part of 20 years before I moved to Sydney. So those, I think the values of like, again, giving back. And I, again, what brings me joy as a person, I think that I find joy in helping others and pouring into people. Like that makes me happy. And so I know that same thing as when I coach, whether it's pro men or whatever, I think the joy comes from seeing people fall in love with what they're doing, seeing progress and like making strides, and then being able to see that there's a future here and a path here. So it was the same thing, whether I'm coaching pros or whether I'm coaching under 16 rep down at Coburn, which is where I coached. I think those were the things that led me to that. And I was still playing for the better part. And for most of my playing career, I always coached as part of it. Yeah.
I think about coaches that like haven't had the long career and get into coaching at the end of playing. It does seem to be a lot of those coaches who just seem to love coaching, and it doesn't really matter who you're coaching as long as you're coaching, and you're coaching at Coburn or you're coaching at the WA state stuff. And I've heard the analogy with cycling, with cyclists like the Tour de France. You have people that are specialists on flat tracks and mountains. And then you say, well, who are the ones that win it? And it's the ones that can do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And so you're, you work in a university and you're a good orator, and then you're sympathetic to people, and then you've been a player as well. So you kind of have that mix of everything that adds up. I'd like to ask you about that the WA stuff, because I know that you were a coach on one of the most stacked WA teams.
Stacked team.
That ever existed.
Yeah, it really was. I was assistant coach for WA Metro, and the team was Wani Swiker, who obviously played for the Sydney Kings, Luke Travers, who's currently plying his trade over in the G League and the NBA for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Luke Jackson, who's currently the starting ruckman or forward wherever he's playing for the Fremantle Dockers. So it was, and then the guys around them as well that probably don't get enough love.
Yeah.
Super good, really good team. We started that tournament. We got smacked in the first game. Mojave King was playing for Queensland South.
Oh, right.
Blake Jones, I don't know if you remember him running around the NBL.
Was Jason Spurgeon on this team?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Or was it 18s?
It was 18s.
Okay.
18s.
Right.
It was in Geelong. And
okay, well, that's a good team.
Yeah, we get smacked by 30. Like, we're favourites coming, and we get torched. Wow. They touch us up. And afterwards, I'm looking at Coop and I'm like, wow, are we not good? Like, when you have that moment, you're like, because I'm thinking, this team's good. Like, this is one of the best state teams I've seen. And we get belted and you're like, was it an off game, or are we just not as good as what we think we are? And then we play, maybe it was ACT, and then we played Vic Metro, and we lost to Vic Metro by about 10. So we start the tournament 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And, we make it through to the quarters. We play Boali Bales. For New South. It was a big tournament for sort of NBL and up-and-coming guys. We played Boali Bales in the quarters, and we get over them by like 10 points.
It's tough to beat New South Wales.
It is, always. I've always thought New South Wales were the cream of the crop.
Thank you for saying that, Flo.
And then, we get through the semi-final. We have to face Vic Metro in the semi-final, and they're it. And I still remember, the stuff you remember, right? And I was sitting in the car with Coop. We're about to go in, and he's like, looks at me, goes, can we win this? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, am I allowed to swear on this a little bit? And I'm like, shit has to go right.
Yes,
like, let's not lie to each other.
Yeah.
But I said, yeah, we could. It's honestly one of the best quality semi-finals I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Kid called Lockie Forrest goes off for 28 points, writes himself into folklore.
Yeah.
And we go to the gold medal game for a rematch with Queensland South, and we destroy them in the gold medal game.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, it was such, and like, that's why Wani and I've known Wani since he was 14. Like, we still message all the time. And I still laugh about when we beat Vic Metro, because obviously, you know me, Gussie, I'm pretty affectionate. Like, I see people and I hug them and I care about people, and Luke Travers is not. He does not like to engage. And we beat Vic Metro, and they were all going back out to see their family out of the locker room. And I had the door open, and they're all coming out, and Wani just jumps me. Like, Wani's super affectionate. So he's hugging me, and they're all hugging me as I walk out, and Luke's last, and he just looks at me. And I said to him, we don't have to hug. Like, it's fine. He goes, we can hug. Like literally was like, we can hug.
Whatever.
So I got a delightful awkward hug from Luke Travers after we beat Vic Metro. But that team was unbelievable.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's the Point of Difference podcast.
Okay.
And I was I was telling you that I was listening to some other podcasts you've done, and that one of the big reasons Luke wanted to get you with the Kings was that you were different, and that he didn't want to get an assistant coach who'd kind of been around and like the same old guys sort of thing. Other than you not having been in the league, what do you think were the attributes you had different to some of the other assistant coaches at the time?
So I think talking to Chase when I did the interview and talking to Luke, they loved my like university research background. I obviously taught in like skill acquisitions. So that whole thing about how you create effective environments for like behavior and skills. So I've got that as, I guess, as a little point. I used to teach a little bit, again, we talk about diversity. I used to teach a little bit of sports psychology and social justice issues in sport. So I do have a very diverse background and a teaching background. And I think Luke was really interested in that, and Chase was as well. Like, I mean, Chase was asking me analytics questions 4 years ago, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've come a long way. So I think they were really intrigued by that. And I think, I guess, again, the point of difference, we keep talking about it, but like, I genuinely enjoy pouring into people. Like my relationships and like I said, seeing you guys and the guys yesterday, like that is the stuff for me that I love above all else. And it hurts my soul, like when I see them struggling or like, okay, how can I help? Or like, how do I find the why? Some guys are a little bit disconnected. Like, okay, how can I have a conversation here that may be able to get him to like flip the switch a little bit? Or how do I work out how this guy ticks and see if I can get him to like come with us on this? So I love that stuff. So I guess, I don't know if it's the soft skills. I always hate it when we call them soft skills, but I think that I'm quite good at that, having those one-on-one conversations and, you know, that kind of care and being direct, but kind of showing compassion at the same time and figuring people out. Like it's the fun stuff. Like you and I have talked about this a lot, you know, and I've picked your brain on certain players about, you know, what you think. So for me, I think that's where like the sweet spot is. And when you can bring it all together, well, that's just magic.
I think when we think about coaching a lot of the time, it's just like X's and O's and the analytics stuff. And I think that a lot of people vouch for you. Everyone we've kind of worked around you that you're able to do that like special thing, and then people trust you, you know, like trust is something that doesn't go around, and you can't just throw it around. I think you're able to establish that with players and with other coaches. And my question to you is, how have you used your skills and all the academic side of things to then be able to build these relationships where players rely on you for support, you know, like coaches rely on you for support, and then it's such a, like, you don't see it often, you know, you really don't. How do you establish those? And really it takes a long time, you know, how do you keep it up with players? And now you're in the States, you're still talking to them like on a monthly basis.
Such a good question. Also, thank you. You guys have been very, very kind to me. So you're right, it takes time. So I remember when I first came into the Kings, I was really quiet, not quiet, because I guess I'm never quiet in a way, but I tried to just get a lay of the land a little bit. Like, you know, I tried to understand Dave and I tried to understand DJ, and I just sat back. I think sometimes when you come in guns blazing, like as coaches, sometimes I think that we talk a lot, and I think some of the most powerful things we can do is listen and watch. And I think our job is to talk, but I think often we get way too carried away with talking and not enough of listening to people and observing and saying, like, I see this. So I really try to do that. And it's taken me a long time to get there. I think when I was a young coach, and like I look back when I was coaching NBL 1, I'm like, oh my God, I was so bad. But I think as you get older and you get more life experience and you work through different situations and contexts, you get better at that. And I always think to myself, I think the best leaders as well and people are people that listen. So I've really tried to refine that over the years and take an actual interest. So again, I pride myself on asking people questions and meaning it, like actually listening to what they want. My best friend teases me all the time. She goes, oh my God, like give it a rest. Like, because I'm interested. And so, and I really I don't try not to just ask a question for the sake of asking. And I think when people know that you're engaged with them and you care about them, and again, it's off-court stuff as well. It's not always the basketball stuff. You know, I love talking to Zave and Brucey about their kids, you know, and I think in the USA now, I just try and, you know, it's not all the time, but once a month we're all just texting. I mean, it's usually just talking absolute crap, to be perfectly honest, but it's that checking in and laughter and banter, and I don't know, I always try and bring that good energy and joy even when it's sort of stressful. So those are the things that I guess I try and do to build that trust. And I like to think that I'm pretty loyal. Like if I'm with you, like I'm with you. I've got you, like through the good and the bad. And I can get narky at them and they can drive me mental, and I've many times, but like through it all, like I've got you. Like I'll go to the wall for you, and I can see like if stuff's bad, I've got your back. Like I'm going to try and build you up. So I think those little things build that trust and rapport.
For sure.
Yeah. I think players are much more willing to accept that as well once they know that you have invested in them. And that trust that you build sort of leans on that. So now we'll move into general manager Fleur, and it's going to be one of the best segues you've ever heard, because this is the segment of the show where we ask you to name your all-time starting 5, players that you've coached or played with.
Oh.
And I know that you'll be a little uncomfortable to leave people out.
Yeah.
So it can be just 5 that you thinking of right now.
Oh my! You couldn't have given me a heads up so I could prep this.
That's the whole
Okay,
point.
point of difference.
Yeah.
Well,
Shaq and I can talk for a minute. if you
yeah,
want.
I know. I can. I'm gonna go so recency bias with the Kings.
That's so okay.
Like I'm gonna go so recency bias.
It's fine. We always say most of our listeners will be that.
Yeah, I'm
that's right.
sorry.
You're just
But
making people
let's
happy.
hope people enjoy the Kings focus. I guess if I go with the 5 guys that I kind of keep in contact with and like I'm close to, it's so hard. I'm gonna have to name like 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I bring 2 off the bench? So it obviously would be Sean Bruce, Xavier Cooks, Geordie Hunter, and I guess for me like Wani Swaka would be in there, and then again I'm close and probably like again honourable mentions. Can I like slide it?
Yeah.
Like I still message Jalen Adams, Jalen Galloway, like those and Ian Clark I love. Probably don't message Ian just as much, but I mean he's just such a star.
So you're winning a championship.
Yeah, I'm stacked. We're winning the whole
It's
thing.
true, you're winning the whole
We are
thing.
winning the whole thing. So those would be, again, it's very biased to the Kings. Probably a little bit of recency because I've been here reminiscing and like talking ourselves up how amazing it was.
That's
so
true.
I'm
That's very
definitely
true.
swayed that way.
And you're around like the most biased people. You can be like, oh, how fun was that
storm,
team? Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Amazing. How good were we?
Yeah.
Like literally, I was talking to Zay the other day. I said, remember when like we just used to walk into away arenas like we just complete like I want to say swagger, but it was almost arrogance. Like I said to say, even me, like I'm walking in like as if these guys have beaten us. Like it was like legit.
Like I remember it was a terrible introduction to me to road trips because now when we lose, I'm like, what is it? Because the first year we went like the first 10 road trips.
Yeah.
And they're like, we went to Melbourne, they're playing like the Darth Vader theme as we walk in the arena. We're like, yeah, we are.
Let's go.
What are you gonna do about it?
So bad.
And now we just lose.
Yeah. It's like even last year, like my first 2 years, girls, we went back-to-back champions. I said, what do you mean we're in a play-in?
Yeah, I know.
What is this?
I know, but it's good learning.
It is.
It's good
It
learning.
is. We've got to
It's good for
balance.
the
You've got to
ego.
get some bad to really, like, that's why we're taking so much joy in the good.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. Okay, so
general manager.
then you go to Phoenix.
Yes.
And I guess sort of I'd like to hear about what it's like and what everything is first and foremost.
Yeah. Meaning like what I do.
Yeah. What does a day look like? What are your responsibilities?
Yeah, it's actually really hard to describe. And this is going to be, I mean, you've talked about your segue. I'm going to give the lamest answer to this question.
Fantastic.
Like the job, what I do is like in the job title, you generally manage across like all areas. So
fantastic.
I'll go into a little bit more detail, but
yeah.
when people go to me, what do you do? And I'm like, generally, it's so lame. So obviously I'm in the basketball operations side of things. So the way it's structured in the NBA and the WNBA is that you have like your business operations and then you have the basketball operations. So we're on the basketball ops side. And then, is this boring if I go into this structure? Okay, tell me. We need good content, but they'll just cut me off so clearly. No one wants to listen to you explain the structure of a front office.
Honestly, like, I don't think people know enough.
Okay, so how it's structured on the basketball ops side is that you have a general manager. We're very lucky in Phoenix. We have 2 assistant general managers, which not any other WNBA team would have. We have another guy working with us in the front office who's the greatest. He kind of manages all our administration for us. He knows the salary cap back to front, the collective bargaining agreement, like all those things, which I have no idea going into this role. So I need him. He's my Bible. So that's kind of the front office. Then you have your coaching staff. So we have head coach, 6 assistant coaches, again, pretty well stacked in the WNBA. We have three front of the bench, 3 behind the bench, and then that includes your video coordinator in those 6. So that's your coaching staff. Then you go to your health and performance staff. And then we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. We currently have 4 full-time health and performance staff. So it combines like athletic trainers. The difference in performance staff and the terminology, our head of performance always says to me, because they called athletic trainers or like physical therapists, she's like, you have no idea what that is, do you? I said, I should really learn in 10 months into the job. Because I work quite closely with them and like a strength and conditioning coach. So in the basketball ops side, and then obviously you have the team, like you've got, we have an operations manager who kind of does operations for us and our equipment manager. She's the most perfectly organised human being in the world. I love her. You know how OCD I get about being organised. So she's the greatest. So on the basketball ops side, there's probably 30 of us staff. And then obviously as my job as assistant general manager, so I'll give you an example when I go back in January, free agency kicks off on the 21st, but we've been prepping so far for free agency. We have, pitches done up all ready to go hit free agents. I will probably head to Miami for the new tough gig, going to the new Unrivaled League that the WNBA started. Wow. There might be a European trip in there to try and recruit some of the Europeans. Cool. In between that, so kicking off free agency, trying to get players signed. We've currently got 4 signed on our roster. Keeping an eye on the salary cap, because remember it's a hard salary cap. And then at the same time, you're trying to figure out who you bring into training camp. So you might have maybe 9 signed heading into training camp, maybe 8. So you're allowed 19 in training camp. So who are we filling it with? Who can? It'll be your draft picks, but who can go compete? Who's a chance of making our roster? Who wants to come to training camp? People are like, I'm not coming unless I'm guaranteed a contract. So it's figuring that out for April. At the same time, the draft's coming in April. So I'm going to college games. So, for example, come February, I'm going to LA to watch USC play Ohio State, and then I'm waiting 2 days, and then I'm going to watch UCLA play Ohio State. So just in LA for 4 days. And, it's awesome. My job is to go watch basketball and get intel, and we have a little ranking system. So that's before the season. Draft comes, we get ready for training camp. We all go to training camp, and then the job of the front office with the coaches. I think we do a pretty good job in the WNBA or our organisation. In the NBA, it's very front office. There's not a lot of back and forth with the coaches. A little bit different. We have unbelievable relationships, and we take on board what they want. We're making the call. So come training camp, I'm sitting there for 5 days and we're trying to pick a roster. And at the end of training camp, we play 2 practice games. I'm used to a 6-week preseason at the Sydney Kings, even longer. And I'm like, this is 6 days. We're playing 2 practice games and we're going to play next week.
Do you remember Mood when he arrived? He was like, wait, it's 2 months till I
yes. It was wild to me. I'm like, we go 6 days, 2 practice games. We play in 10 days.
Yeah. Wow. Whoa.
What you put in a training camp is essentially it's really hard to add stuff or change stuff during the year. So then at the end of training camp, you're waiving players. Least fun job in the world. I had to sit in those meetings, and I sat in with our GM and our head coach, and it was a really good experience. But I walk back to you'll laugh at this because it's so me, we're crushing people here. It's awful. You're obviously doing it so respectfully and with care, but there's no other way. I walk back in the office and all the coaches are like, are you okay? I start crying because I'm like, oh my God, I've just crushed kids' dreams. So I may have to toughen up a little if I'm going to be in this gig. And so then, basically you're in it. So then during the season, it's just ebbs and flows. There'll be really quiet times. I mean, the season's manic. We're going to play 44 games this year in, whatever it is, 5 months, 6 months. At one point last year, we played 5 games in 8 days. So this is what I mean. What you put in training camp, you're in. There's not a lot of live reps and practice time because you can't. You have 11 people on the roster, 11. Yeah. Because you have to have a minimum of 11, a maximum of 12. A lot of teams sit at 11 because we're trying to max what we've got, pay people more. And then someone gets injured and you're playing with 9 some nights.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't, obviously there's no DPs, but you can't have
there's no training players.
So would you have no training players when you're at home?
We have a practice squad. So we have a male practice squad that comes in, and they're great. But that's not allowed in the WNBA.
Wow.
So
it really is just the group.
It really, and the thing is, what happens during the season, how it ebbs and flows is, if someone gets injured, you're trying to have a meeting as a front office, are we signing an injury replacement? Who is it?
Yeah.
Are we going to eat into the cap? Because you leave yourself a little bit of space.
Very finance-based?
Yeah, very much. And it kills you because you're sending this team out with 9 players. And we sort of made decisions to wear it a little bit because we were thinking, all right, we'll save some space to sign someone post-Olympics. And then you've got the mid-trade deadline, which doesn't happen, not a lot of trades happen in the WNBA because it's the hard cap. So it's hard. But we actually made a trade this year. So it's super it's fun trying to work it out. Again, the human side of it, not so fun. That you've got to then tell someone that they've been traded. Like, and that's where I like it's like the figuring it out and trying to make it fit is the fun part. But the human part is hard some days, like in anything in pro sport and life. And then so the season kind of goes ups and downs depending on what you're doing and what you're faced with. It can be really slow for a couple of weeks and then something implodes and we're having meetings at 11 o'clock at night after our game and figuring stuff out. And then post-season, it's college scouting. You kind of, during the season, we also scout for free agents. So we all share teams across the WNBA in the front office and we rotate them during the season. So we have to go watch one live game and just get like 3 or 4 games worth of stuff, and then again write notes on it. So then we just share intel, and we have a whole database of where we see players and if they fit our system, what we think, any intel we find out. And then right at the moment it's just pretty much college scouting and getting ready for free agency. So I've just mapped out a year. Sorry if that was the longest answer of all time.
No, it's really good. My question will be in-season travel. When do you go away on road trips?
Yeah, I do. Yep. I probably go on every third. We split it in the front office.
Yep.
So it's awesome. Like it's really good because you get time with the team and I'm at practice every day. Nice. Like you still get that. And that was my biggest thing moving to the front office because it's different over here. And then I rang, my good friend is Adam Capehorn, who coaches in the NBA, and I rang him and I said, like, I'm good with people. Like, I don't want to lose that. He's like, you won't. Like, you're going to be in it with them. So that was the big thing for me. And where I guess, like, obviously I spend a lot of time with the players, but when you also asked about my role, like, it's managing staff as well. So I work really closely with our coaches. I still get my basketball fix. Like, Nate will call me in, our head coach, he is the greatest, and he'll be like, got a sec? I'm like, sure. He comes in, he's like, what are you seeing? Tell me. So I get that, and we throw ideas around.
That's so good.
You go analytics, like Preston will text me some gnarly idea that he's got for pick and roll defense. I'll be like, absolutely do not take that stuff. I'm telling you right now, that will not work. He's like, I'm doing it. And he comes back and goes, I shouldn't have done that. It's a bad idea. So it's that. I work a lot with our health and performance staff, just kind of managing my staff, making sure they're all okay. Again, I feel grateful. I think because they know I've come from coaching, like our newer coaches to our team hit me up all the time. Like we're in playoffs and it was so nice. They're like, Fleur, have a look at my edit. What do you think? So I kind of get that.
That's really good.
And that's the juice. Like us talking around, like sitting around talking basketball. So it's kind of a great balance of everything and it's so diverse. I'm also currently building our research and analytics department.
Wow.
So I know analytics now.
Fantastic.
I've come a long way in my 4 years.
Good.
I had to interview like software engineers this week. I mean, I know nothing about tech. So, but thankfully I've got the Sun side helping me out with some expertise there. So I'm like going to be in charge of our research and analytics.
What's the, I guess, like how much do you dissolve, I guess, or work with the Suns? Like, is there much of the...
Yeah, so originally when I moved to Phoenix, we shared a practice facility with the Suns, but we've obviously been built a brand new facility downtown. Like it's insane. So we were with the Suns for the first few months. And we do, like their research and infrastructure kind of department is helping me out a lot build mine because I'm coming in. And so my first 3 months, I had so many meetings with NBA teams and they were unbelievable because both Nate, our head coach, and Nick, our GM, both worked in the NBA. So people are so willing to like help. So I'm jumping on Zoom calls with people from like Golden State, like Portland, and everyone's telling me their structure and just getting a feel of how they do things. And the Suns have been super helpful in how I build that out. So we do have a bit to do with them. We also share our facility with the G League team. They're a new G League team coming in. And again, super good. Their head coach was assistant coach for Chase at Wisconsin Herd. So he coached JA, like DJ Ho. Like, so that's really cool. Like, he hit me up the other day. He's like, you got any timeouts running around in your sword or something? And I said, I'm sure I can find something in here. And like their GM and I are really good friends. So there's a lot of crossover. And I was able to go to, again, I know they obviously had a change with Coach Bud coming in to coach the Suns this year. And a lot of his assistant coaches, again, friends with Chase, coach with Chase. I'd met a lot of them at Summer League. So I was able to go to Suns training camp this year. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I sat there for 4 days and, watching KD and Book and like run around. You're just like, these guys are like, wow, this is, it was also like, you would know, like the Sydney Kings. Like,
Yeah.
I text Zave and Brucey, I'm like, they are literally about to run stick slides. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Don't
I
miss
said,
that.
I may be able to teach this day one of training. It was like all our concepts. So that was really cool because I
That's
knew
cool.
it all, like what was
Yeah.
going on. So and I feel way more invested with the Suns now. I think this because I sat in training camp and I watched what they put in, and so there is some crossover, but we're just at different facilities. Yeah.
The facility.
Okay.
Like, I remember texting you being like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That looked unreal. Like, talk to us. I mean, it's got to be the most advanced in the WNBA, right? Like,
Easy. And I think it's better than majority of the NBA facilities. So I think the reported value is like $100 million. I still walk in every day and I'm like, I cannot believe I work here.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
Like the standard, I'm just in shock every day. I hope I never lose that. I'm sure I will, but I still walk in, I'm like, oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Like full chef, kitchen. I mean, I don't cook anyway, so now it's gone even worse. Like my fridge stocks have not improved. Like
I need that.
It's so good. You would love it.
Yeah, I
I mean,
would love
in fairness, I'm not sure they're doing a plain rice with a chicken with no sauce,
Or a homemade
which is
pizza.
your specialty.
Don't let people know how I live.
Sorry, I'm dropping all Gus's secrets on this this podcast.
I remember I came in with chicken, rice, and mayo.
Yeah.
And you were like, isn't it supposed to have colours? It was all the same, like, grey, white
It's
colour.
just, or just a plain fish, no sauce inside. I'm like, what is going on? I mean, it's point of difference, so I just get to tell stories.
I'm just a different type of guy.
Absolutely. But it's amazing. The locker room is just, I can't even describe it. So you two just need to come through Phoenix and get a proper tour and
100%.
get buckets on
Oh,
the Diana Taurasi court. Just get some
that's it.
shots up.
Yeah.
So it's so good. And I think it is true. Like when they opened it, I'll tell you a story. We came back and like it was we hosted All-Star Weekend. So it was meant to be open for the huge opening. There was a deadline. And like Team USA were coming in for their practice before they went to the Olympics. So it was big time. We were about to unleash this thing, right? And the day before I walk in and I'm like, like it's 24 hours to go. And I don't know how they pulled it off, but like the day of, Nate and I, like everyone, we're in there scrubbing, like stocking shelves, everyone's pitching it.
Yeah.
But that's what it's like. That's what our team's like.
Yeah.
I remember saying to Kira, our operations manager, because she's like she's more organised and OCD than me, and she loaded me up with job, and I said to her, Kira, can I just say, I am honoured that you've trusted me with this. She goes, and her response was, I'm desperate, I've got no choice. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's an insult, but I'm gonna go with it. It was a race against time, but wow, they pulled it off.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And we got to showcase the whole point of hosting All-Star is to showcase the city and the facilities, and hopefully come free agency, you're able to tap into that. Like, come play in Phoenix, look at what we do. And our players are awesome as well. Like Tash Cloud and Kalia Copper just constantly in the off-season walk around and post Insta lives and tag like at free agents. Like, constantly.
Really?
Like,
That's awesome.
they're our biggest promoters. So it's good and that's how it works in the W. It's obviously with anything like players talking to players. Hopefully it pays off in free agency that we've got this beautiful new facility to use.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. All right, we're going to the bowl. Rapid fire questions, Fleur. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Instagram or TikTok?
Oh, Instagram. I don't even know what TikTok is.
I don't have it either.
Mountains or the beach?
Beach.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What's your coffee order?
Double espresso or long black?
Ooh. Road trip or fly?
Road trip.
What colours are on the South African flag? There's 6 of them.
No way.
Yeah.
6.
If Geordie gets a question wrong and I get it wrong, that's more what I'm going to be. I'm going to be so devastated.
He's going to kill that one.
He will because he's anyway. I want to say green, white, red, yellow.
Yep.
Is there any blue?
Yep. One more.
Orange?
What did you say? Green, white,
No, there's one colour. No.
Black.
Yep. Bang, good job. That's pretty good.
All right.
The curveball hit out the park.
Yeah. So, I guess the transition from men's basketball to women's again, and I guess being a female in like a male-dominant industry.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I'm big on that because I'm like the flip side. I
You
coach the
are.
girls, and then,
Yep.
you know, I really enjoy it. And I think there's so much space for it to evolve, and it's such a good like level of competition and such a good sport, and people should be watching it more. But what made you switch back other than the experience, and like, how do you promote it
Women's basketball.
in general? Yeah.
I'll say this, I have been blown away at how good the WBA is. Like, I knew it was good. I always followed it. Shaq, watching it live they are insanely good. Like, the physicality, the athleticism, like the shooting, like, yeah, it's unbelievable. I tell this story. Our first game we played Vegas. We were on the road, and so I'm on the road trip. And as always, I'm front office. I'm not doing out there doing pre-game vitamins and warm-ups. I'm just sitting there eating lollies in the first row.
Good.
And Asia Wilson walks out, right, for her pre-game. And I'm not joking. I don't know if I am like I had my mouth wide open. I was like this. I could not stop staring.
Yeah.
And I watched her for the whole 10 minutes, and Nick goes to me, close your mouth. I was like, I'm not joking. I was just like, holy, like that is, I can't even describe it to you. And all I'm thinking is, how are we guarding her? Like, I'm like, oh my God.
Not your problem.
Yeah. I'm on scout, figure it out. I've given you the roster, but just figure it out.
Your problem now.
Some nights you feel like texting the coaches and being like, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm such an advocate for it now because I see it live and it is unreal. Like, I know the brand's growing and all the rest of it, but to get to watch it live every single day and also be at practice, it's just incredible. So I think the way I advocate for it is the way I talk about it. And I think you can probably hear, I generally think that I'm quite genuine and authentic when I try not to say stuff that I don't mean. It is an unbelievable league to be part of. They are unbelievable athletes. And so for me, making the switch was hard because I loved my job. Like, I love these guys more than anything, but I think if I was going to pack up my life and move to America, I had to believe in what was happening over there. And I really believe in Nick, our GM. Like, I connect with him so well. He's one of my closest friends. I believe in his values and his leadership. And I could see what they were trying to build. And I was like, this is a super cool time. Like, my brother keeps teasing me. He goes, of course you walk in the year that there's charter flights. And, just classic Fleur just swoops in at the opportune time.
It's fashionable.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, I miss it. I miss coaching men's. But like I think I just miss those moments. Like, that was incredibly special, but it's awesome being part of the WNBA. I love our players. Again, so grateful that I get to build relationships with them and just watch them kill it. Like, and this brand just go through the roof. Like, Caitlin Clark comes to Phoenix and we have 18,500 people to the roof. Like, I walk in 2 hours before a game, and there's no one there 2 hours before a game. You should see it. People watching her warm up. It's Steph. Like, it's literally the Steph Curry effect. Yeah. So how can you – I was like – I walked in. I texted the front office. I'm like, I have chills watching this. Like, you can't not. Like, you're like, this is unprecedented. Like, so it's very easy to be an advocate when you see it and you're in it every day.
Yeah. Great answer.
Yeah. Well, I talk a lot about when it comes to being interested in sport. It was like the NBL. When LaMelo Ball came to the NBL, all it did was it just got people to watch Australian basketball and go, this is actually of a very good standard. And then from there, it's been really good. And so when people talk to me about, well, how can we get people watching women's sports? Often it is just getting them through the door in the first place. And then they watch it and they're like, oh, wow, this is a very high standard. This is competitive. And then you can be interested in it.
Yeah, such a good point.
Yeah. But it's an awesome time to be in the WNBA, and it's going quite well. I'm kind of jumping back.
Okay.
You said you had 4 players.
Yeah.
Like, this is 4 that are still on contract from last year.
Yes.
And then the draft is how long out from the season?
So the draft happens.
Because you said April.
Yeah,
it's a long time away.
So usually early April, and then training camp starts like 2 weeks later. So the draft,
Because I just know in my very limited understanding of the WNBA that often a lot of first-round draft picks don't get picked up.
Yeah.
And it can be really, when you say it like that, hey, you have 11 players, maybe 12 players, and you've got 2 weeks between the end of the draft and the start. Like, they've got to be a really good fit to warrant waiving someone else. Or whatever
they do. And it's so hard. Like, obviously the new expansion team's coming in this year with the Golden State team coming in,
Yep.
so it adds roster
Yep.
spots. And we've got 2 expansion teams coming in the year after. I'm not
Wow.
sure how 2 expansion teams are going to work. That'll be interesting how that plays out. But so it's expanding quickly. It's hard to make a roster. Like they always talk about there's 144 spots. Well, there's really not, because most teams a lot of teams only carry 11.
Carry 11, yeah.
There's no DPs, which again I really believe they need to add either
Sure.
add roster spots like the NBA or add DPs. Like I think a kid that gets drafted late in the first, like you said, Gussie, we got first round picks that are getting waived.
Yeah.
So if you make it in the 3rd round,
you're
they're the slimmest of chance.
Yeah.
But so then everyone always says to me, what happens after they get waived? Well, they're out. And so how good would it be if they got to be in that system for 6 months, and if someone gets injured, you get an opportunity.
Yeah.
So that for me would be the greatest growth area, or one of the key growth areas, I think, as we form the new collective bargaining agreement. That's the thing I'd really like to change, because I think there's still space for development. And at the same time, I don't know if adding expansion teams is going to really dilute it too much. So it's that fine balance,
Yeah, there's
right?
a
Like, you've
balance.
got to capitalize on the brand. You've got to give people more opportunity. People have been crying out for more teams and for people to make rosters. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Is there any guarantee if you're a top 10 to be that's not even a thing, is it?
No. So once you get drafted, there's a contract signed,
Yeah.
but you can be waived at any
Shit,
point.
yeah.
At any point. So it's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. And you obviously can have really strong draft classes, and then you can have really weak draft classes where, your top, I remember a few years ago, Charlie Collier, who's playing at the moment for the Canberra Capitals, she's the #1 draft pick and she got waived.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think the best player from that class who's kind of stuck in the WNBA is maybe it's Dejanay Carrington. She was 8 or 9. It was so, and it's hard to stick.
sure.
There is some really, really good players in the WNBA.
And what's the trend for the ones that end up getting waived? Is it heading to Europe and trying to find your way back? Because there's no G League, there's nothing, as you said, no DP, so you just have to go find your luck somewhere else?
Yep, a lot of them are going, well, classically, Europe doesn't start till later, so a lot of them will just go work out with trainers,
Yep.
do individual, obviously that's huge, it's huge here, it's huge over there. They'll just go pay, there'll be pick-up games places trying to get yourself in shape. But yeah, a lot of the WNBA younger players are out here playing in Australia at the moment. There's probably, 1 per team in terms of their imports. So a lot of them will come and play in Australia, but a lot of them go to Europe. Obviously to earn money, to make an income, and obviously to make your way back. And I think that's a really untapped area. We've talked about this as a front office, circling back on those players that have gone away, putting up numbers in Europe, matured, added to their game. It's worth coming back around to that, because they come in as a rookie to the WNBA, and again, bottom line, it's more bang for your buck because in the salary. So that's something I think we've talked about as a front office. Can we explore that more? These Americans or whoever that we've drafted haven't made it, but hey, 3-4 years down the track, should we? Yeah.
Wow.
100%. Fleur, I think we've hit the limit.
All right.
But always a pleasure. Thank you very much again for coming
Thank
on
you
the
guys.
show.
I love
Very
it.
insightful. Yeah.
Thank you. I
Awesome.
appreciate it.